We party in sun or rain, we don't care what the people say.
And I recall on 2 occasions, one at Market Square, and the other the conversations with the Prime Minister. When the Honorable Prime Minister said to us in Point Fortin, he said to us that now it is Point Fortin time. He promised us that we will get our hospital. He promised us that we will get our highway. He promised us that we will get Micah Oval. Ladies and gentlemen, today when you drive past, you're seeing that this is the man of his word. You're seeing this is a leader. You have seen the hospital is near to completion. It will be completed by July next year, occupied by September next year. Ladies and gentlemen, you have seen the development of Micah Oval. The Point Fortin to San Fernando Highway is well on target. A leader who says to you, Point Fortin, you will get hospital, highway, the Micah Oval, and I also add the fire station. So ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing a man of true leadership. As tonight, we concentrate on Team Rowley that is red and ready. I'm saying to you that come on Sunday, Sunday is only a means to an end. We are preparing for 2019 and 2020. And I ask you to ask yourself, what kind of leadership do you want to take us through to 2019 and 2020, to the local government and the general election? I am saying to you as a military man, you need someone who has been battle-tested. You need someone who has faced weapons of mass destruction. You need someone who has been through the thick and thin, through the lows and the ups, and yet he is determined, he is resolute, and therefore I'm saying to you that we have in our midst, we have among us a leader who can take us through the battles of 2019 and 2020. So when you think about Sunday, think about a means to an end. Ensure that we support Team Red and Rowley. As a military man, if I'm going into battle, the kind of leader I want, it is manifested right here in Dr. Rowley, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the hallmarks of a good leader, especially when you're going into battle, is to ensure that you choose your lieutenants, your captains, your tacticians, because you know the kind of road that they're going through. And I can say that the slate that has been chosen by a general. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Point Fortin. Welcome to Team Rowley. They have my support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member of Parliament for Point Fortin. And ladies and gentlemen, you have seen what a team is made of. I am normally the chairman for these meetings, but without skipping a beat, the team was able to produce another chairman. And that is what this team that will lead us from now till 2021 is producing for you. Political leader of the People's National Movement, Member of Parliament for Point Fortin, Mayor of the city, or I don't know if I'm predicting, but Mayor of the town of Point Fortin, Mayor of the borough, a kind of battle weary. Mayor of the borough of Point Fortin, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Team Red and Rowley is ready for September 30th, ladies and gentlemen. September 30th is a significant date for Trinidad and Tobago. That date usually marks the end of the financial year. It marks the end of the long road with the presentation of the national budget a year before. It is usually a date when we can exhale and await what the new budget is going to bring for us. This year, September 30th, also marks the beginning of the Red and Rowley slate. Because on September 30th, we know that with one accord, you will all be voting Team Red and Rowley. We have made the point repeatedly that this internal election is not only an exercise in democracy, but it is a tangible way of demonstrating the depth and strength of this great party of ours. In no other political party in Trinidad and Tobago will you find the quality and caliber of candidates assembled here this evening. No other political party can boast of the erudition and encyclopedic knowledge of the patriarch of the party, the Venerable Overan Padmore, who is running for the position of Education Officer. None can boast of the class and dignity of Jocelyn Bodden, who is already elected as our welfare officer. None can boast of the quiet dignity and suave and sophistication and financial acumen of Howard Chinley, who is already elected as our treasurer. No one can boast, no other political party can boast of the quiet dignity of Robert Lehunt, who is running for the position of vice chairman of this party. No other political party can boast of the sheer bravery of young Avinash Singh, or of the fight of Endale Young. And there is no other party that can hold a candle to the wonderful Camille Robinson Regis. Ladies and gentlemen, this Red and Rowley team has traversed the length and breadth of our country, spreading the gospel of the PNM and reaching out to every nook and cranny because we believe we have a compelling story to tell. And ladies and gentlemen, it is not by accident that we're here in Point Fortin tonight, our last stop. And some may say that we have kept the best for last. This is as a result of the deliberate planning of our political leader. And tonight, you will hear from most of our candidates who are putting themselves forward on the slate of the Red and Rowley team. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want you to sit back and listen to what our candidates have to say. And ladies and gentlemen, as I introduce the candidates, I will also tell you what they are supposed to do on this team when we win. And the first person that I would like to ask to speak to you tonight is Laurel Lezama Leasing, who is running for the position of Public Relations Officer. But let me indicate what the Public Relations Officer is to do. And I'm sure no other political party can boast of having a handbook for officers, and we have that. And it says, the Public Relations Officer is responsible for ensuring that there is a constant and regular two-way flow of information between the party and the general public. The primary obligation of the Public Relations Officer is to ensure that the general public is at all times aware of the aims, objectives, and achievements of the movement through the operation of the constituencies and the aims, objectives, and achievements of the government through the operation of the government. The Public Relations Officer should be able to identify the aims, objectives, and achievements, shall be responsible for analyzing and evaluating public thought and sentiment as it relates to the movement, shall be responsible for assessing and reporting to the members of the movement for the sentiment on any proposed or implemented action of the PNM, and shall be responsible for all communications with all persons with whom the PNM comes into contact. That basically is the role that Laurel Lizama Leasing will play after she wins on September 30th. Join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming Laurel Lizama Leasing to the podium.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman of this evening's proceedings, our party's Lady Vice Chairman, the Honorable Camille Robinson-Regis, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, our very esteemed political leader and Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Edmund Dillon, Member of Parliament of Point Fortin, my colleague on Team Red and Rowley, but I'm in your town, in your borough, His Worship, the Mayor of Point Fortin, Councillor Abdon Mason, my colleagues on Team Red and Rowley, and you, the beautiful PNM people all here tonight who've come out to lend your support to all of us on Team Red and Rowley. Good evening. No. You beautiful people seated here in this wonderful auditorium in Point Fortin, good evening. Y'all here, you're awake. The PNM, as Madam Chairman pointed out, has a compelling story to tell. How many of you believe that the PNM has a compelling story to tell? We didn't just wake up 5 years ago and decided to pull 2 and 2 people together and say, hey, let's see what we could do for Trinidad. No. We are a movement, a rally of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have been around since 1956. And here we are, almost 63 years later, still in great service to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The development of Trinidad and Tobago has come about, dare I say, purely and solely of the basis of PNM policy. It was our people's national movement under our founding father, Dr. Eric Williams, who developed the People's Charter, which spoke to a vision of development, education, certain freedoms, independence, eventually republicanism. It is the PNM that has laid down a roadmap for every single significant accomplishment in Trinidad and Tobago. Education, healthcare, infrastructure, energy, the economy, social services. It is the People's National Movement that created this story for us to run with. You know, we are 3 days away from our internal election. A number of persons have presented themselves to serve our great movement. And as we all know, it is their right. I have one question to ask you this evening. If it was the PNM that put Trinidad and Tobago on this path of development, what good is a broken down PNM to the country? Where will the country find itself? You see, the PNM as we know it is a disciplined, structured organization. It is one of the greatest institutions in this country, and dare I say in the region and perhaps in this hemisphere. If the PNM were to fail, Trinidad and Tobago would fail. And how can the PNM fail? If we have a team that cannot come together, or if there's rather a group of people that cannot come together to be a team and to put together policies, ideas, and action to move our country forward. I want you to picture Trinidad and Tobago without a PNM. I want you to cast your minds back to 2010 to 2015, the terrible times we had to endure under the previous administration. Do you have any desire to go back there? Do you have any desire to go back to a country led by the United National Congress or any other pickup side? No. Do you understand how important this election therefore is? We can't rest on our laurels, no pun intended, come Sunday, you know. Sunday, it is your duty, if you love your country and if you love your party, to come out in your numbers and cast your votes resoundingly for every single member of Team Red and Rowley. You see, this team, over the course of the past month, has come together so closely. This team has articulated a vision for our party, for next year's local, for 2020 general, and beyond. And this team will champion our party throughout the next 4 elections and beyond, because you know we have 4 elections coming up to us. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Mistress of Ceremonies would have indicated to you what the role of the public relations officer is. It's not a jokey role. You can't wake up this morning and say, right, you're going to offer yourself for this position, and then reach in the evening and say, oh no, I want to be the PRO, and then offer yourself in that position. It is not a role for fun. It is not a role for popularity. It is a challenging role because you are required to tell the story of the PNM and how the PNM is going to impact and improve the lives of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And so I propose to you to be your best public relations officer ever by having closest relationships with you. And before the principal puts me out, I just want to remind all of you that the Magnum will be republished, and we will have excellent two-way communication channels to work with one another, because we can't go anywhere unless we communicate, unless we know what you want, and unless you know what the party and by extension the government is going to give you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you once again to come out on September 30th in your numbers. You're able to vote in one polling station. Find your polling station. The list is circulating. Find your polling station. Make sure you take your national ID with you. Go to the polls any point between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Put your X next to this Team Rowley sign here. Team Rowley is loyal and faithful, like my friend Chairman Terry Rondon, who's been to every single meeting throughout this campaign. So thank you very much for showing us what loyalty is. And we assure you, Team Rowley will be as loyal to our PNM. Great is the PNM, ladies and gentlemen, and we shall prevail.
Thank you very kindly, Laurel. Before I introduce our next speaker, a public service announcement. Could PBU 5677 please remove your car? It's blocking the entrance. PBU 5677. Ladies and gentlemen, the General Secretary of the party is the heart and soul of Balize House. On Team Red and Rowley, our choice for General Secretary is none other than Foster Cummings. Join me in welcoming the next General Secretary of the PNM, Mr. Foster Cummings.
Lady Vice Chairman of the PNM, the Honorable Camille Robinson Regis, and elected already unopposed to the position. Let us congratulate her, please. Political leader, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. You know, it sounds different when you put the Christopher inside there. It just sounds a little statesman. It's Keith Christopher Rowley. Sounds like a prime minister, like, you know. When Granny was selecting the name, she said, this guy looked like he's going to be something big. At first they decided it would just be Keith Rowley, and I said, no, let's put that Christopher inside here. Sounds like a man who is going to do powerful things to this country. The mayor of Point Fortin, who is our candidate for field officer on the Red and Rowley team, His Worship Abden Mason, MP and Minister of Housing, Brigadier Edmund Dillon, all other members of Cabinet, officers of the movement, and Chairman and Executive of the Point Fortin constituency, my colleagues on the Red and Rowley team. It is a pleasure to be here in Point Fortin tonight, and I find you're getting very quiet in the back there. Great is the PNM. We are here tonight because we love you and we care about you, and we want to make sure that on September the 30th, you have your support lined up for the winning team, the team that will form the next executive of the People's National Movement, the Red and Rowley Brigade. I tell you, when the speaker paused, that's when you have to give the applause. I told you that last night. Beautiful. My friends in the PNM, we are being called upon to make a very serious decision in the next few days. Tonight is the final night for a series of meetings we have been throughout Trinidad and Tobago, advising party members to exercise their franchise very carefully. Because you see, I have paid close attention to a number of persons who, quite rightfully by the Constitution, can offer themselves for office. But it's also incumbent on you as party members that when you are about to choose an executive, that you make that choice wisely. We have elected since 2010 a new political leader. Well, he can't be categorized as new anymore. He's been with us 8 years. But somehow, some people, Madam Chairman, can't seem to get accustomed to the idea. So let me just remind each and every member of the PNM. The political leader of the People's National Movement is Keith Christopher Rowley from Mason Hall, elected since 2010 as the political leader, elected unopposed. Nominations were open, nobody put up their name, and Keith Christopher Rowley is the political leader of the PNM. Get accustomed to it. Whether you like it or not, this is our leader. And when we elected this new political leader in 2010, he set about to reorganize the PNM. We had a delegate system of voting. And he was at the forefront of introducing change in the PNM to allow each and every party member the right to vote and not having to place their vote in one delegate from a party group. The fact that we are gathered here tonight trying to encourage you to support the Red and Rowley team is because of the initiative and the foresight and the vision of our political leader. And not only that, I have been in the PNM for a very long time. And I know that some of you think that I look as 35. And I thank you, for that compliment. But I have been in the PNM for the last 31 years. And serving under Dr. Rowley is indeed a privilege. I feel privileged to serve under Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley as political leader. Not only did he move us from delegate system of voting to one man, one vote, he reformed the screening committee of the party in terms of selection of candidates. So that whereas before the screening committee was merely a group of persons to assist the political leader in the selection of candidates, now the screening committee has the power, each member in his own right, to vote, and by majority on the committee, candidates are now selected. He didn't stop there. We very recently turned the sod for a new Balize house. I mean, we love Balize house, but for those of you who attend screening general council meetings, I'm sure you hear the pressure on the floors of the old building. And therefore, the PNM is being taken into a new age. And as the PNM moves into this new age, we need a strong executive. And I tell you that when you are selecting an executive, you need to look for people with experience. You need to look for people who are committed. You need to look for people who are real, experienced, and dependable, like Irene Hines as Operations Officer of the PNM. When you are looking for a chairman elected unopposed, I don't know who would have put their hat in the ring to contest against Howard Chinley as the treasurer of the PNM. When you are looking for a chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is not about whether somebody has an ambition and wants to sit in a chair. The chairman of the PNM has to be a strong individual with experience in the party, with experience in government, having served as vice chairman of the PNM for the last 4 years. Colm Imbert, I recommend to you, will make an excellent chairman of the PNM. Point Fortin, Colm Imbert for chairman. And coming from not too far from Point Fortin, you want a vice chairman who has experience in the ranks. And Dr. Rowley has selected a gentleman called Robert Lehunt. And I encourage you to support Robert Lehunt for vice chairman. And he looked near and far, high and low, above and beneath. And then when he examined those who had put themselves forward for the position of Chief Executive Officer, the General Secretary of the People's National Movement, the man who will run Balize House, the man who will make sure that all the constituencies are well communicated with and information flows back and forth from the center to the constituency. A man who served on the General Council of the PNM for 25 years. A young man at that. A man who served as field officer of the PNM. A man who served as youth officer male of the PNM. Served as constituency chairman for 2 constituencies, Couva South and La Hocketatal Paro. And Dr. Rowley said, but that must be a good man for General Secretary. That man is no other person than yours truly, Foster Cummings. So I ask you, when you go to the polls on September the 30th, look for the Rowley logo, Team Rowley logo, and place your X next to dependable, real and experienced candidates to run the affairs of your party for the next term. And ladies and gentlemen, before I close, let me just repeat. We are preparing for 4 elections. Because you know, a political party might be about a lot of things, but they must win elections in order to implement those policies. So we are preparing for the local elections next year. We are preparing for the general elections in 2020. We have the THA elections in 2021 and a local election again in 2022. We don't have time to put any jokers in office. We have no time to put anybody who now trying to learn on the go in office. We have no time to put people who don't understand teamwork and who don't understand what it is about lining up on a team and supporting your leader as head of the team. I say to you tonight, our political leader has endorsed certain candidates. I see a lot of things happen on Facebook I say, see somebody say today, I resemble. Somebody put a picture of me and they put a picture of Andrew Gabriel and they say, I looking like Andrew Gabriel. But I better looking than Andrew. So I don't know what you're talking about. They will try all sorts of things. And when all fails, they will turn to race and discord and disharmony. We must reject it outright when you go to the polls on the 30th. Vote for the Red and Rowley team and say, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we shall prevail.
Real, experienced, and dependable, ladies and gentlemen, Foster Cummings for the position of General Secretary. And ladies and gentlemen, we are of the firm view that our young people are of extreme importance. And Dr. Rowley has shown this on several of the appointments that he has made, and indeed in putting people in the Senate and in other appointments. And for the position of youth officer on the Red and Rowley slate is Ndale Young. Tonight I ask you to welcome to the podium in Point Fortin, Ndale Young, Young for Youth.
Pleasant good evening, Point Fortin. How are you feeling? No, it can't be good because the last time I was here in this hall, it was for the mayor's ball. And the kind of thing it had going on in that mayor's ball, this can't be the same Point Fortin. So let me try that again. Point Fortin, how are you doing? A little bit better, we'll get there. Honorable Camille Robinson Regis, Member of Parliament, and tonight's chairman and the principal of proceedings, as I would call her, that usually puts her with the vice principal, which is the PRO. Our political leader and our very handsome, astute Keith Christopher Rowley as the General Secretary. Incoming with us said the Christopher is usually a crisp word in the middle there. So Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, Member of Parliament, Mr. Edmund Dillon for this wonderful area. First citizen, I recognize my good friend and a big brother to me in this regard, on this slate, Mr. Abdon Mason, Mayor of Point Fortin. Abdon has been a big brother to me. Permit me also to recognize in the crowd, I think he's to the back, His Excellency Dr. Leslie Rogers, who is our UN appointee from ECOSOC. He's an ambassador plenipotentiary in our midst. And I use this opportunity to recognize him because the thing about it is, in this entire election, as this is the winding up, I don't have the lessons like the Honorable General Secretary to be able to blow my own horn. You know, our incoming General Secretary, he has to teach me that type of thing. But I look back at the entire season of campaigning, and I look at Dr. Rowley as so all the things that he would have done that seems to crystallize now that we didn't understand back then. Even members on the slate didn't understand why he do this and why he picked that and how come he moved there and how come he moved that. But I can tell you something. This morning I had the honor of sitting in the High Court. And while sitting, listening to the judgment of Justice Budu Singh, he was speaking and he was talking about defamation, because I was there for the reading out of the judgment against the Sunshine newspaper. In that newspaper, there was a number of people mentioned, but the Honorable, His Excellency, was one of them. And it seemed like I can't shake Dr. Rowley because I'm sitting there in the crowd and I'm saying, all right, so let me get this over with, let's hear what it. And about 2 or 3 cases mentioned Dr. Keith Rowley versus I can't even remember the gentleman's name from the UN, not from the UN, from the Union. What's his name? Anisette. Keith Rowley versus Anisette. The other president, this one versus that one president. Dr. Keith Rowley versus, and I say, but when I sit down and I study, I say, but people say all type of things in the public domain. And Dr. Rowley's getting rich. So I said, boy, that is my leader, you know. So talk about me too. Because when I hear the president and the kind of judgments, I said, but this man sit down quiet on a gold mine. He not telling Nonnery Foster, he not telling you that. He not telling you that, he holding back. So I said, but doctor, I said, when I start to count, I said, when I count, my fingers run out. I say that because the thing about it is there is a power in leadership. I have been taught that you follow the leader. You speak your truth. You speak truth to power. You be honest. Or kiss no toes. But when the leader say line up, you line up. Nothing is wrong with saying, boss, I ain't think this is the right line. But when he say line up, you line up. So when I heard the judgment for $350,000 a day, I said, praise God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. But that took me back also to a gentleman I would like to name in this place before the campaign is over. Gentleman by the name of Sigler Jack. And I had a conversation with him 2 weeks before Dr. Rowley called me and asked me to run. And in our casual conversations that we do at time, I said, Sigler boy, we're talking about different things, and Dr. Rowley came up. So he said, I said, Sigler, I sure this man, no disrespect, doesn't want to see me when the day comes. The kind of thing I find myself saying sometimes. And he said, Ndali, you would not believe the kind of man that he is. He's quiet. He said, but he doesn't like people to be yes, 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 yes around him. He said, when Dr. Rowley is in Diego Martin West, sometimes we have heated conversation. He gave me a story of one time he had to come down to South for a meeting. Just by the way, Fortin and Sigler was the reason why he was late. Or he didn't come. He didn't come. And he said, we had a heated battle and he was going, and he said, I wasn't letting go my point. He said, eventually he canceled the meeting and he stayed. He said, the next morning he called, he said, Sigler, you okay? It was kind of heated last night. He said, that is such as the manner of the man. That he's not thin-skinned, but at the same time, more than people believe, he cannot be controlled. He gives everybody opportunity to speak. He has all, but at the end of the day, he, the leader, makes a decision. That is a man that I have decided to follow, and I think I could continue to follow. And in so doing, though I have not extensively been given the opportunity to share the policy that I will be bringing to the youth of Trinidad and Tobago, one of the things that I have set out from the onset within the first how much ever days is that we have to meet with every youth league in this country and remind them that the youth league is a part and parcel of the party. And this party has a leader. You see, I want to give the youths an opportunity to have a voice. I want to give the youths an opportunity. We should have a youth speaker on a platform. Everywhere we go, that should be returned. Yes, we want to raise the age so that we can try to get maybe 1 or 2 youths to sit in the parliament sometimes as temporary senators. We have wonderful plans to revamp the officers, the youth officers committee besides the youth league. That is also wonderful. But none of it will be worth anything if we don't teach the children to have respect. Respect for their elders, respect for their leaders, and general respect for each other. You see, I've seen some things in this tenure here that has informed me going forward. That sometimes you can be a leader that is charismatic, but cause people to draw to yourself and therefore lose the purpose that they've been called for. So today I pledge to all the mothers, to the fathers, and to the youth that I would not just be a leader to the Youth League, but we will work with the Helicona Foundation. We will work with the JCIs and the JCs, I always hear Senator Hunt speak about the JCs, and he says so proudly, I'm from the JCs, you know. You have a kind of upper tone when he says that. And I know why, because I am a prospective member for the last 5 years, and I see the operations. We will work with the youth ambassadors, and we will build a policy that we can take this nation's youth from where they are today and move them into leaders preparing to take office, because Dr. Rowley was the one that made the call and said he is calling young people to take office. So we are preparing the candidates for 2022, 2023, 2024, and 5. But we prepare so within the foundation and the framework of the People's National Movement. Moving forward with one voice, with one mindset, standing independently with our voice, but putting all our hands together. So that when we join together, we can always say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall be.
Young for youth, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about young people who have worked their way up in this party, we talk about the mayor of Point Fortin, Abdon Mason. A man who has worked assiduously in various positions in this party and now finds himself as the mayor of Point Fortin and our candidate for the position of Field Officer of the People's National Movement. Join me in welcoming your mayor, Abdon Mason.
Thank you very much, Madam Lady Vice Chairman, Chairman of tonight's proceedings, our distinguished political leader, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, our Member of Parliament, Major General retired Edmund Ernest Dillon. Oh, it sounds just like Christopher, doesn't it? Ah, boy. Members of Team Red and Rowley, ladies and gentlemen gathered here tonight. Before I start, I want to take the opportunity, permit me to apologize to the members of the Point Fortin constituency. They invited us to a meeting on Tuesday night, but we have a well-organized campaign, and on that night we were scheduled to be in Sandy Grande. So we are here tonight. We apologize that we could not have made it on Tuesday night. I hope you accept that apology. I want to share something with you all tonight that I've never shared with anybody. On the morning of the 25th of May 2010, at approximately 6:45 in the AM, I got a call from a member of the PNM. And the conversation was this: Abdon, you see what happened last night? I hope you remember what happened the night before. You remember? He said, we are the next generation of this party. We cannot sit by and wonder what will happen next. We got to get involved and be the change we've been asking to see. I say, my friend, what do you suggest? He said, the first thing we need to do is identify a leader. I said, who do you suggest? He said, there's no other choice but Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. I said, that's a real serious man, you know. He don't stick nonsense. He said, that is exactly what we need at this time. That call at 6:45 in the morning on the 25th of May 2010 was from Foster Cummings. But I tell you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, there was never a better recommendation that I've heard in my life, because you could look back Look back at our party and you would recognize that the best decision taken since 2010 was to elect Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley as our political leader. I remember not too long after that, Dr. Rowley was elected political leader, and he met with us right here in Point Fortin a couple days after. He was elected on Sunday and he came the Tuesday night. And the one thing, he said a lot of things that night, but I always pick out the things that is succinct and important. He said, my name is Keith Rowley from Mason Hall. If I have something to tell you, I will tell you. I send no messages. So I'm saying that to say how I got involved in Team Red and Rowley. I got a call one day from Indar Parasram, and he says to me, I recommended you to the political leader as the field officer. I said, okay. He said, owe me lunch. I have not paid him the lunch. I went home. I had an event to attend the next day. And that day when I attended the event, Dr. Rowley was present. He shook my hand and he said, I heard that you're interested in running for office. Go brave. He sent his message directly to me. That's why I don't owe you lunch, Indar. And it's an honor, Dr. Rowley, let me say it in the presence of the people of Point Fortin. I'm humbled and honored that you've considered me to be a part of your team. Thank you so much. So let me go on and start talking about why. Oh, somebody stopped me outside and I want to answer this question before I go on talking about me and the PNM. Everybody thinks that because I live in Point Fortin, I have to say something about what's going on in Petrotrin. Let me tell you this. I'll say one thing about the whole Trinma Petrotrin experience. One, this is the only statement. As far as it relates to Petrotrin and Trinma, I trust my government and I trust the members of parliament and my prime minister and the cabinet to take whatever decision is in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago. That's my statement. Further to that, I wear a size 9 pair of shoes. And if I put my foot in my mouth, it will take a skillful number of medical practitioners to remove it from there. I have said my part as far as that is concerned. But let's talk Abdon. Let's talk Abdon that some persons try to forget, try to ignore, try to cover, try to erase. But you can't. It's 33 years I've spent here. My stint in the PNM started in 1985 at Point Fortin College when I joined the party. My first role for the People's National Movement was serving as the polling agent for 4755 for Cyril Rogers in the 1986 general election. I became active in the Constituency Youth League in 1987, and I eventually became the chairman of the Point Fortin Constituency Youth League. I was elected a committee member of the National Youth League in 1988, and I eventually became the chairman of the National Youth League. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the distinct honor of saying that I am the only person to come from Point Fortin to ever become National Youth League chairman. I was elected a councillor in 1992 and made the leader of the House, a councillor in 2010, and I became deputy mayor, a councillor in 2016, and I was appointed mayor of Point Fortin. I have served my party at the party group level, the constituency group level, the constituency executive, the general council, the legislative group, and the central executive. The next person came to me and said, why are you running against a man who, when we call on him, does give you what you ask for? He does give you your chairs, your flags, your buntings. Ladies and gentlemen, I have given 33 years, and I stand here to say, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have, give I thee. I have grown committed to a team of individuals that have shown commitment, fortitude, and pride in our party. We have gelled so well together that we are certain that we will take the PNM with Dr. Rowley as the leader from election to election to election, bringing victory and hope to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My team have on it Foster Cummings, Laurel Lizama Leasing, Howard Chinley, and Abdon Masons. Those were formed in the youth league of the PNM, the hatchlings that are now grown up to lead our party. We have Indar, Irene, Foster again, and Dr. Rowley didn't know that. You thought it was three of them? Abdon was the next one. All they were telling me, just win one of them elections you're contesting now, boy. So this year, the threesome will become 4 because I'm going to win this time around. And I want to say a special thanks tonight to the next chairman of the People's National Movement, Mr. Colman Burt. For the entire campaign, we, the members of the Point Fortin Borough Council, mandated me to get some answers or some positive responses from Mr. Imbert. And every night he will tell me, you wait, you feel like all I have to do, wait, I will get it done. I am grateful to tell my council members today, we got all our DP money, thanks to Mr. Colman Burt. And Dr. Rowley, before I leave, I must send this message that was given to me by Mr. Andrew Mason. The last time you played All Fours in Point, he hung your jack 3 times. And you promised that you would welcome Point Fortin to Tobago Martin West for a rematch. Mr. Andrew Mason said you could take until budget finish, take until convention finish, take until Christmas is done. But you said something about Easter, so before Easter, welcome Point Fortin to Tobago Martin West for a return march where he promises to reintroduce you to some hang jack. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Abdon Mason, your candidate for field officer. There's not a better man in the race. I will take you through. God's blessings to you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the field officer of the People's National Movement. Ladies and gentlemen, another brave young man in the People's National Movement, a man who has shown fortitude, a man who has shown that he will go to the end to ensure that he preaches the word of the PNM, is the person that we have on our slate for social media officer. That person is none other than young Avinash Singh. Welcome, Avinash, to the podium.
Thank you kindly, our very dynamic and gorgeous. Give a round of applause before I start. Our Lady Vice Chairman, Ms. Camille Robinson-Regis, political leader and Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, our MP for this part of the country, Major General Edmund Dillon. Let me also recognize the Mayor, the man who stole this stage tonight. Give him a round of applause, your very own, Abdul Mason. Let me recognize Chairman of the corporations for Tunapunapiako, Sandy Grande Regional Corporation. I want to recognize my parliamentary colleagues, Robert Lee Hunt, and he says the hunt is over because your next vice chairman is right here. Make some noise for Robert Lee Hunt. Honorable Kazim Hussein, members, I want to also recognize Mr. Randall Mitchell, your MP for San Fernando East. Ladies and gentlemen, Sitaram, assalamu alaikum, a pleasant good night. Let me start my very brief discussion with you tonight as to why I'm here. And I will start with one quote from the famous Bob Marley. And he goes by one saying in the past in a song, and let me just find it, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsting. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a line in the context of social media officer I'm going to speak to you for a few minutes tonight. Because in the midst of so many news sources, so many social media pages, hundreds of thousands of persons are still hungry for the truth about the PNM. And tonight you have heard our next public relations officer sharing her vision, her passion for taking this party into the revolutionary state we would like it to be. Because let us not forget, elections now can be won or lost, a significant part of that to social media. And that is where the vision of our political leader had when he introduced, through the convention, this post called social media officer. And I have had the very good fortune to be asked to serve this party once more to become your next elected social media officer. And I do so with privilege, pride, and hope for Trinidad and Tobago, because I'll tell you why. When I came into the politics of the day, I was attacked by a sitting prime minister. Never forget, and I will never forget that. I will never forget the words thrown against me by a sitting prime minister, as though we don't have a democracy in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to the People's National Movement, this country enjoys independence, republic, and every single thing you could set your foot in. Every infrastructural development, education. I always boast about my parents not being able to afford tertiary education. And it is because of the PNM I could stand with a double major out of university. And I will tell you, my friends, I will tell you, when that statement was thrown at me, I am very thick-skinned, for those of you all who think that I'm thin-skinned. She said, they have chosen one of your own. Teach him a lesson that he has gone against you, from your own community. And I took it I took it back then with the political slang. But I want to tell you tonight, don't ever take that statement lightly, because that is the type of persons that belong to the United National Congress, all of them. Because that message to me, and I could say it because it was directed to me, was a racial coded message towards me. And I will dare say, I will never forgive her for that. Because I am PNM. I stand on principle. And this party is the reason for who I am today. And I will tell you, had it not been for vision and foresight of the dynamic leadership skills shown in this captain of this ship that is taking not only the PNM forward, but is taking Trinidad and Tobago to a very, very progressive and prosperous state. Yes, we have challenges, but understand how we got here. Dr. Rowley on another platform told you about the EMBD, about billions of dollars being spent on rural roads, and up to now we can't see them. But that's just tips of the iceberg in terms of what took place. So we must understand why we are here. And I feel and I believe that I could support a man who is not afraid of losing office. Because I want to share something with you. A couple of weeks ago, some persons having a discussion said, but Avinash, what's going on with your leader? He wants to lose the next election. He's interfering with Petrotrin. Isn't almost all the workers in Petrotrin PNM members? But I want to say to you tonight, when you follow a leader standing on principle, when he took his oath without fear or favor, malice or ill will, I want to tell you that is leadership. And that is what we have as our political leader going forward, and will certainly be the next Prime Minister to come in Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. I could follow that. So, point 14, I am here, humbled, privileged, having been able to serve this party in a number of occasions, and I'm here once more offering myself for social media officer. The rules and the regulations are not yet listed in our handbook, so General Secretary, you have some work to do. But ladies and gentlemen, it is for one of those reasons why this position, it is to correct the records. It is to give hope to persons following all the fake news, the lies, the propaganda, because that is what the UNC is known for. They cannot attack a single person in Dr. Rowley's cabinet. They cannot attack a single person in the People's National Movement. So they will resort to race and all sorts of things that will try to come between us. But tonight, God is my witness. I'm standing here. I will be your next social media officer to join my PRO in telling the story of the PNM, why we are here, where we have come from, and where we intend to take Trinidad and Tobago. And we will all sing on September 30th when you elect Team Red and Rowley. No other team, we will sing, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we would have succeeded. Thank you and good night.
The next social media officer of the PNM, ladies and gentlemen, Avinash Singh. And ladies and gentlemen, one candidate who epitomizes real, experienced and dependable is our candidate for the position of Assistant General Secretary. Daniel Duque is real, he is experienced, he is dependable. He stood in the breach when Ashton Ford resigned his position of General Secretary, and Daniel Duque, the Assistant General Secretary, who worked assiduously alongside Ashton Ford, acted in the position of General Secretary, and we congratulate him for the work that he has done during that time. He presents himself again for the position of Assistant General Secretary, the real, the experienced, the dependable Daniel Duque. Welcome him.
Thank you very much, Madam Lady Vice Chairman, Chairperson for this evening's meeting, our political leader and Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Member of Parliament for Point Fortin, the Honorable Edmund Dillon, His Worship the Mayor of Point Fortin, Councillor Abdul Mason, distinguished friends and family of the People's National Movement, good evening. Very happy to be in Point Fortin, a place I know well. I love Point Fortin. I'm happy to hear that your MP spoke about the upgrade of Mahaika Oval, and it reminded me of my days running for a particular track club in Mahaika Oval. The last time I ran at 200 meters there, I came third. And when I went home, everybody asked, Daniel, how much you come? I said, boy, I come third. They clapped me. What I didn't tell them was there were only 3 people in the race. And that is the truth. But my friends, Daniel is real, Daniel is experienced, and Daniel is dependable just as all members of Team Rowley. We can say that, my friends, because I just want to make a point that all of us would have had our foundation operating at the party group level. The Constitution of the PNM states the party group shall be the basic unit of the party. And all of us have been grounded by working and functioning in the party group. I want to remind us, ladies and gentlemen, that in 2014, Dr. Rowley led a team in the then internal elections of the party. A team that won convincingly. And the result of that led to overwhelming victory in the elections that followed in 2015, 2016, and 2017. And likewise, this time, my dear friends, Dr. Rowley has chosen again to lead another team. And it is my belief that if you heed his advice and elect us into office, I believe with faith in God, we'll have victory again in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. I hope you see the trend. I hope you see the wisdom in our leader by selecting a winning team. I urge you, ladies and gentlemen, on September 30, to ensure that you don't just go to the polling station alone. You take your friends, you take your family, you take the members of your constituency, and ensure that they cast their ballot resoundingly for Daniel Duque as Assistant General Secretary and every member of Team Rowley, so that we can continue to move from victory to victory to victory, so that we can continue to sing, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and with your love, we shall continue to prevail. God bless you.
Real, experienced and dependable Daniel Duque, ladies and gentlemen, for Assistant General Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of a chairman, the vice chairman takes charge of the party or the meeting at any point in time. Our choice for vice chairman is none other than Robert LeHunt. He has told us that the hunt is over, and we believe him. On this occasion, Robert, who has served in various capacities in the PNM, will not do like Daniel did and come third. He will come first. And we are looking forward to that. And we know that Daniel will come first in this race also. Welcome to the podium, ladies and gentlemen, our choice for Vice Chairman, Robert LeHunt.
Thank you very much, Our Lady Vice Chairman and Chairman of tonight's proceedings, Ms. Camille Robinson-Regis, our political leader, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, Mayor of Point Fortin, MP for San Fernando East, MP for Point Fortin, my friend Brigadier General, retired Brigadier General Dillon, Chairman of the Point Fortin constituency and other visiting constituencies. Labre, is Labre in the house? Yeah. All right. A hearty good night. I will spend a few minutes of my time just giving a little bit of background on who I am. And I will tell you why in a few minutes. I am a person, I was born and grew up basically in this area, or the neighboring area, I might say. I was actually born in Darley's Village, Santa Flora. And then I moved to Faizabad. You see, my father at the time joined that company, or joined the TPD company as it was known at the time, as an apprentice at the age of 14. And living in that community in Faizabad, and we know Faizabad and Point Fortin, we have always traversed this area together through the fields, through Forest Reserve. So I have been with my father through TPD. I have been with my father through BP. I have been with my father living in that community through Tesoro, through Trintopec, and then I was there when they converted all changes into Petrotrin. I say that to bring to your attention that, you know, what is happening in this part And coming from South, myself, having lived in this community my whole life as growing up, when the decision was taken, or the decision came before Cabinet to support the position of the board of Petrotrin, to make that position as it relates to the refinery, it was something, having grown up in this area, felt in my stomach. That being said, we looked, I was there, we looked at the decision that was needed to be made. We looked at all of the numbers and recognized that the line of business as it relates to refinery really could not cut it. We needed as a country to have a profitable Petrotrin. And Petrotrin just couldn't have been profitable with the refinery business still being there. Petrotrin as a company had a lot of large debts coming up, a lot of debts that needed to be serviced. And therefore, it needed a company that was profitable going forward to be able to service those debts. Because at the end of the day, if Petrotrin don't service the debts, it means we all have to service the debt. So I want to say that a lot of things were taken into consideration. All that the namesayers are talking about, the impact on the community, the impact on the country, etc., etc., they were all looked at. And being from South myself and growing up in that area where my father worked his whole life, then I would have not, it's not something that just would have come easily. But we did the work, we did the research, we hired the professionals, and at the end of the day, we had to do what is right, not for simply the workers of Petrotrin, but we had to do what is right for the country, Trinidad and Tobago. So I wanted to put that clearly on the table. I also wanted to say that, you know, elections are very, very important things. And elections, as a result of elections, there are a lot of consequences. And this election is a very critical election, internal election, for the simple reason, as a lot of the other speakers have spoken about, and as actually our General Secretary mentioned, in the next 4 years, we will be facing close to 3 to 4 elections. And as a political party, which is what we are, the People's National Movement, we have to put our house in order to ensure that we win those elections. But why do we really want to win those elections? And we have to win those elections because we're not winning it just because we want power, and power is a nice thing. We're winning it, and we want to win those elections because we want to continue to do the work that we have been doing to rescue and rebuild Trinidad and Tobago after what it went through over 5 years under the United National Congress. In case we forgot, remember, under the United National Congress, we want to stop and we want to ensure that they do not come back now that the NGC is starting to make money and build back up its equity. Remember, that was the government, when they were in power, $16 billion out of the NGC was just removed just like that. We must not forget all the projects that were done, the $63 billion worth of budgets that we had in this country consecutively, and the money was just there, and we have nothing to show for it. I remember in my maiden presentation in the cabinet, you know, when I reflected, not the cabinet, in the parliament, when I reflected on the UNC's term in office, the words that came to me were spend, 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 and thief, thief, thief. And clearly, the reason why we want, and it's important, that we win this election, as I said before, it's not about power. It is because we have a lot of good work to continue to do. We have a lot of good projects in Labre to finish. We have stabilized the economy, and it's not me that is saying that. We got an economy that was in trouble and shambles. And as you saw, coming out of the recent IMF statement on their review, international individuals coming down from Washington and sending it out to the world what they could do with Trinidad and Tobago, or what is the prospects for Trinidad and Tobago. And those reports are read internationally. So there's nobody making up anything. And they talked about the fact, they acknowledge that what we are doing, we are on the right track. They acknowledge that the decisions that were taken were the right decisions. And they also acknowledge that at the end of the day, the economy is on a growth path going forward. So we have been doing the right thing. And therefore, we have to ensure, we, the members of the PNM, have to ensure that we put an executive together in the PNM so that this executive could lead us into victory in all three of the elections going forward. I think at that point in time, you need a round of applause. So I am extremely proud to be part of this team. I'm extremely proud because this team talks about real people. And I like the fact that one of the words that we use to talk about the Red and Rowley team is that it's real. Because authenticity is a very critical thing to me. Being part of a team that is authentic, being part of a team that has an authentic leader is a critical part of leadership. I like a person that, as you heard, whatever you see is what you get. Whatever he says and whatever he leads with is with passion. This team is made up of individuals, not of people who say that they are PNM today. But when you look at their actions, it is not authentic. Because you cannot be a real PNM and walking around, but you cannot attend any one of the functions and you can't be seen over the last 5 to 6 years. That is not being real. You cannot be a real PNM when at the end of the day we can't hear from you, and you in the meantime telling people not to vote for the PNM. That is not real. That is not what we know as being a PNM. And therefore, we have put forward a team of candidates that are all real. These are the people that when you look left, when you look right, between thick and thin, in good times and in bad, at the times when we were in opposition, and now that we are in government, you saw this group of people. You saw them there working with you to get us to this position. And this is the group of people that you need for us to have in power and have in place so that as we go forward, we could continue the good work that we have been doing. So I ask you all to support, one, myself, Robert LaHunt as Vice Chairman. As I said before, the hunt is over. I have worked in this party in the north. I have worked in this party in the south. I have worked for this party in the east. I've worked for this party in the west. And I've worked for this party in Tobago. I have been here since 1986. And I have a tremendous amount of experience within the party, which is one quality you need as vice chairman. As a vice chairman, you also need somebody with some management skills and who can run an organization and lead a team. And I tell you, based on my corporate experience, having been the managing director of a bank, I have that skill. I have that skill. So I ask you for your support for me as vice chairman. But I also ask you to support all members of this team, because it is critical that we have a team going into the next election, and you must vote for all the members of this team because they are real, because they have experience, and because they are dependable. And that is what we need. I thank you very much for your support. And I want to again thank Dr. Rowley for putting me and making me part of this team. Thank you very much.
Our next Vice Chairman of the PNM, ladies and gentlemen, Robert LeHunt. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Christopher Rowley told us in 2014, Team Rowley is offering itself based on a promise of effective teamwork and a record of integrity, loyalty, and strength. We are committed to working in your best interest, and we want you to help us secure the future. In that same year at the PNM convention, he said, "Let me begin by setting out the fundamental guiding principles of our party. Policy is not formulated in a vacuum or by VAPs. Policy must be based on certain principles which we hold dear. It is principle which allows us to make choices between competing objectives and also between different ways of achieving objectives. It is principle and the adherence to principle that allows the PNM to stand head and shoulders above the rest." And ladies and gentlemen, it is principle that has guided Keith Rowley throughout his time as a member of parliament in this country. He stands on principle with all his decisions and with every action that he takes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is also principle that has allowed him to look at all party members and to determine that the team that he has put forward to you as the Red and Rowley slate is the best team that can take this party forward from 2018 to 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we have elections in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. And this team, led by Keith Rowley, that is real, experienced, and dependable, is the only team that can take us successfully through these elections. Join with me, therefore, in welcoming the captain of this team, Keith Christopher Rowley, to address you.
Thank you very much, Lady Vice Chairman, Head of the Women's League, People's National Movement, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, my cabinet colleague, Minister of Housing and Member of Parliament for Point Fortin, Major General retired Edmund Ernest Dillon. But by the end of the campaign, I learned all the middle names, eh? But some middle names have to be left severely alone, right? Other party officers, candidates, party members, supporters, and particularly those of you following our campaign on the media at home, on the radio, television. A very good night to you from Point Fortin. Well, the internal campaign for the PNM internal elections has come to an end for us tonight. We've been all over the country, had a lot to say about ourselves, a little bit about others, and a lot about the PNM. Tonight, I'm pleased to see how effectively the team of candidates have put themselves before the party and provided justification for their support. As I've said last night, we were in Chaguanas, and I tried to point out that there were only a few people who I had to encourage or ask to take office on this occasion, because most of the others had already been in the line going to offer themselves. And in order to complete the team, I asked a few people to come on board, and every one of them who was so approached came on board, and we have an excellent team. Tonight, I want to say to you party members in the Labre Point Fortin area, because we see this whole area as one unit, the Southwestern Peninsula, Labre Point Fortin. Labre in the house? Yeah. And okay, well, representatives from Labre, yeah, okay. So when I speak about the Southwest Peninsula, I talk about Point Fortin and Labre together. Because when we leave Port of Spain, we see you all about the same destination, right? But we have an extremely good team. And what stands out in this team is that they all are familiar with the corridors of our party. They're all familiar with our constitution. They're all familiar with our processes. And they are committed people who are willing to give of their time, their energy. They are committed to party business, party work. Not for the election or the next election, but they've shown that in their past association with responsibility. So I'm very confident that if you elect this team, the greatest part of the assignment would have been accomplished. So we can now proceed after the convention to begin to engage our future. And you see, there's a reason behind wanting to have a strong executive, a cohesive team that works together for a purpose, because there is a purpose behind this, and the purpose is not about just the PNM. It is more about Trinidad and Tobago. And there's no better place to demonstrate that than right here in the Southwestern Peninsula. So tonight, I don't want to talk anymore about the candidates. I think they've all won already. What do you think? You see that win already thing? Come out and vote on Sunday. All party members come out and vote in support of the team that you think justifies your support for being our next executive. So I assume that you do that. But let me take you through a walk through the Western Peninsula. This peninsula that we know as Labre and Point Fortin, it's an area of great resources, one kind or another, not just the Pitch Lake. Where you're located on the island, where you're located in the region, and what you have on shore and offshore. You have resources. You also have an interesting history. You also have had serious slices of bad luck. And now you have tremendous potential for a future, because the PNM has always been with you. There's a lot of talk in the country right now about refinery and whether a refinery should be continued or not. But Point Fortin, you can demonstrate to the rest of the country. There used to be a refinery in Point Fortin. There was a refinery here. Why is it not here anymore? Somebody thief it? The reason why there isn't a refinery in Point Fortin, I think that was a Shell refinery, right? The reason why it is not here now, a refinery is a machine. It's a machine to convert crude oil into lighter products, all the way up to LPG, gasoline, diesel, kerosene. It's a machine. And the owners, somewhere along the way, decided that the machine was no longer usable. The business model was no longer effective. That machine was not built to employ people in Point Fortin. It was built to refine crude oil. And when that business became bad business, it was shut down. You all forgot that? That was a smaller refinery than Point-a-Pay, but it was shut down because it was no longer good business. But the PNM, facing that situation, could have done one of two things. We could have continued to subsidize it and allow it to continue losing money if its purpose was simply to keep the employees employed at the machine. But no, a decision was taken to close that refinery. But the government of the PNM understood the importance of that machine to the people who had made their living off it, directly or indirectly. And since Point Fortin was not going to have that machine, the government worked night and day and created a new business. And we said from day one, if we succeed in creating this new business, we will locate it in Point Fortin to fill the gap that refinery left. I was in the cabinet when we supported the Prime Minister. It was his idea, Patrick Manning's idea, that the gas that we have in this country, if we could start an LNG business here, we could convert our gas to cash by monetizing our gas, and we'll do so in Point Fortin. And that is how Atlantic LNG ended up in Point Fortin. How many of you today will trade Atlantic LNG for the refinery? But of course, you don't do these kinds of things capriciously. It is looked at very carefully, and you make significant decisions. Now, that was successful. But then, you know, we also had a plan to put a company down here called Miskem. Gave them special gas price to do what is being done in Point Lisas by building their plant in the Western Peninsula, down here in Point Fortin. Government change, and what happened? Bad luck. The UNC government comes into office, and they allowed the plant to be based in Point Lisas, even though the terms and conditions that they were given in Lebre, in Point Fortin, were better than the terms given in Point Lisas, because Lebre, Point Fortin, was viewed as a green field, and they got better terms. They took the better terms to Point Lisas and built the plant in Point Lisas with the better terms. So Lebre, Point Fortin lost out. And that caused problems for the country up there, because once that happened, the companies in Point Lisas started saying, what you give them, we want. But what was given to them was because we were encouraging them to come down to this path. So you lost that. We also, in seeking to ensure that because we identify this peninsula as the area for industrial development in the country, and because of the facility you had with the Deepwater Harbor, we built the Lebre Industrial Estate, Labidco. Again, the PNM is not in office. UNC comes into office, and they abandoned Labidco for 5 years, abandoned the industrial estate. You all forgot that? It was when the PNM came back into office that we returned to Labidco and caused Labidco to become the industrial estate that it is now. And we continue to try to bring business to Lebre. PNM is in office. We talk about diversification of the national economy using the resources of this peninsula. So we identify Union Estate for an aluminum smelter, and we built the best power plant up there. UNC comes into office, even though you down here voted for the PNM. You voted for the PNM in Lebre. You voted in support of the smelter in Lebre. The UNC comes into office, and they shut down the smelter program. As I speak to you now, we're still facing claims of hundreds of millions of dollars for that smelter that they shut down. And worse, that power plant up there, TGU, was allowed to remain there unattended for about 2 years, ignored. And of course, it was built to supply the industrial plant in Lebre. There was no plant for it to supply, but we are paying millions of dollars every month for power we can't use. thanks to the UNC. So Labrie lost out again. Point Fortin lost out again. We started producing platforms in the peninsula. Well, I need not go over what happened with the platform that was being built here. And some of you had something to do with it too. The next thing we know, a platform that was being built in Trinidad, halfway through, it was taken to Mexico to be completed there. We lost the next one, and now it takes the PNM to be working our way to try to get the next one built at Labidco. Your government is working towards that. And the only chance you have of getting that is because a PNM government is in office. And then, of course, after all this criticism, they tried to do like the PNM and decided to bring a plant to this area, the Mitsubishi plant. But they signed an agreement for that plant that would have had tremendous negative effects on the entire country. You know what it was? They signed an agreement almost to completion. When we came in within a matter of 2 weeks, we were being asked to sign an agreement. The new Attorney General was being asked to sign off on the agreement. But we had to examine it. What was the agreement? The agreement was that in the face of shortage of gas to the plants at Point Lisas, that they were telling us that the gas shortage was because of maintenance going on, and as soon as the maintenance is finished, everything going to be all right. In fact, it was a lie, and we knew that. The country didn't have enough gas. And the National Gas Company was facing hundreds of millions of US dollars in claim for not being able to supply gas to the plants in Point Lisas. But the plant that they promised to bring down here, the Mitsubishi plant, they signed an agreement that whatever gas was available, that plant will get it first. I need not tell you, if that was ever allowed to happen, all the other plants would have been suing the National Gas Company for millions of dollars in claims. So that was their offering to the people of Labrie, Point Fortin, and I dare say all of Trinidad and Tobago. Within a matter of a few months, the new government in 2010 had to go to the Japanese in Japan and look them in the face and say, we are not going along with that project because what you have signed there is unacceptable to us. In fact, it was worse than that. The agreement also had a condition that if the plant didn't get gas and the plant failed, that the NGC was responsible to pay off the debt but would not have had the plant available to it. That's the agreement. We got the agreement changed, the Japanese agreed to change it, and the plant is being built now, and very soon it's going to go into operation, and thankfully we fixed the gas supply situation too, and by the time the plant comes on stream, what existed in 2015 would not be there, and the country and Labrie and Point Fortin can continue to contribute to Trinidad and Tobago. And we have consistently been looking for opportunities to bring to this area industrialization. And recently you would have heard that as a result of us trying to use our location to get involved in the dry docking for international ships, that we have managed to attract from China a major Chinese company to come in as a partner with Trinidad and Tobago and to build in Labrie a very substantial dry docking facility which will allow some of the many hundreds of ships that pass close to us every year to do their dry docking in a facility that will exist in Trinidad and Tobago. That is the kind of business that we are bringing to the peninsula, and we are on our way with that one. And in this case, we're not just building it, borrowing money and building it and waiting for persons to come to use it. In negotiating the arrangement, we are in there and we said to the Chinese, if you are coming in with us as a partner, you have to have equity in the business, so you will have an interest and an incentive to want to bring business to your facility in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are going ahead with that. So that is the kind of thing that happens when the PNM is in office for the people of Labrie, Point Fortin, and Trinidad and Tobago. So it's important. It's important to have a PNM executive that can hold the party together to win elections and to win elections for a purpose. And you, the people of this peninsula, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago as a whole, you have an interest in PNM success, because PNM success is the success of Trinidad and Tobago. And you, in this peninsula, you can point that out more than anybody else in this country. We came into office and we met a hospital on the cards for you. But you know what the story was? They awarded the contract. They approved the project, awarded it, but did absolutely nothing about funding it. It took us about 18 months to work out the financial arrangements and to get the Austrian government to conclude with us to fund the hospital. I can tell you the Minister of Health and the Minister of Finance worked on that along with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And the project which is being built in a government arrangement of some sort has been corrected. We've got the funding arrangement in place and the hospital has been built and is very well advanced. I visited a few weeks ago and I'm very pleased with the progress, and I can give you the assurance that in the not too distant future, Point Fortin will have one of the finest new hospitals in the country. But what is really attracting a lot of our attention these days is the Petrotrin refinery in Pointe-à-Pierre. Let me just say one thing to make it very clear to you down here. There's a lot of people talking about the refinery in Pointe-à-Pierre. It doesn't take much to understand that if the refinery is shut down, that it will have a negative effect on quite a number of people, especially those around the area of the refinery who either directly or indirectly get their sustenance from the refinery. So that conversation is not difficult to carry. And the government is aware of that, and the government is taking steps to minimize the negative effect of that. But what attracts my attention most is the fact of those who are prepared to discuss this matter without reference to the purpose of the refinery and the cost of the refinery to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And let me make it clear again, especially talking in this area where you know about the refinery and oil and so on, that the government has not said that we are getting out of the oil business. We have not said that we are shutting down permanently Petrotrin. What we have said is that we are restructuring Petrotrin to come back stronger and better after the restructuring. But those who are tugging your heartstrings and the emotion are talking about the shutting down of Petrotrin. Yes, there's going to be a temporary shutdown in a transition and a changeover, because the only way we could do it in a smooth and effective way is the way that you have outlined it, which is to completely shut it and start it back from scratch. Because you don't understand, but I understand very clearly what would have happened if we had tried to fix that building while we're living it. There was no way that the OWTU would have cooperated with the government in any other arrangement about reduction in staff or cutting off a piece and keeping a piece. All of a sudden, proposals to give us, you should have done this, you should have done that. But we know exactly what was going to happen if we had not gone the route that we have gone now, which is, one, identify that it is only the PNM government that will fix a problem like Petrotrin, a problem like the refinery, because all other governments ignored it. Ignored it. And if Petrotrin has to be fixed, it follows logically that it is only when a PNM government is in office it will be fixed. And we could do that, I can tell you, because the Petrotrin that they're talking about is a company that was created by the PNM, bought by a PNM government from Texaco. We didn't always have it. So when the circumstances warranted buying it and creating it, we created it. And we created it not just from one company, we amalgamated two or more companies together, and at the end of the day we operated it, and we operated it without the discipline that is required to run a refinery, and that ill discipline created a problem for the country. Total indiscipline that went on in that company. And today, the end result is The end result is that the company is now threatening to bankrupt the country. And what does the government do? I see today Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Roger from the MSJ, Carolyn C. Prasad Bechan, they're all coming together now to defend the refinery. And what's new? That's not new. They are the same people who were in government from 2010 to 2015 and watched the refinery bleeding money and did absolutely nothing about it. And now that there's a government in office that is taking this problem onto itself and fixing it in the best interest of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago, these same people who bankrupted the country, they have all the answers now. And if you see some of the ridiculous proposals they are putting to the government, we spent a year and a half going through with a fine-tooth comb the innards of this company, and it's all about what it is costing the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm hearing David Abdullah saying, we are dealing only with accounts. Now, what else do you do in a company that exists to make money? The government is dealing only with accounts, and we are taking into account depreciation and interest charges. You know what that statement means? It means don't take into account depreciation, which is the cost of maintaining the facility, to maintain its integrity. And if you don't take that into account in the cost of operation, when it requires maintenance, one of two things is going to happen. Either you don't maintain it and it becomes deadly dangerous, or somebody else will have to pay for the maintenance. And those two things are now applicable to the Petrotrin refinery. We can't fund the maintenance as required to keep it where it's supposed to be. And of course, any expenditure on the company has to be paid for by the other taxpayers in the country. That's what they're asking us to do. And of course, all the studies have shown that refining oil that you import largely, because we are only producing about 40,000 barrels of oil per day, and that production has been going down and down and down and down and down. Not last week or last month. Our production has been going down because our fields are mature, and Petrotrin turned out with its indiscipline to be the only oil company that is not drilling for oil, because it's owned by the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago, and whatever money they need will come from the taxpayers from somewhere else in the requirements of the country. Take the money from health, take it from education, take it from paying the public debt, take it from infrastructure, but pay them to import oil, to refine it, and to lose between $2 and $7 per barrel US. Just wrap your mind around this. Every single day, they're using about 100,000 barrels of oil, imported oil. And if you're losing, let's use the average about $5 a day, a barrel on that. $5 US per barrel, and you're importing 100,000 barrels per day. How much you're losing per day? So you're about $5 million a day. That's what they're asking us to do. Lose between $3 and $5 or $6 million a day. So at the end of the month, multiply that by 30. And then at the end of the year, multiply that by 12. That is just losses, you know. Losses. And ask yourself, if we were not doing that, what would have been the situation? And then, of course, we try to fix it after we've studied it. And they're saying, no, if we don't refine our crude, we can't sell it. Well, we'll become the only country in the world that has oil to sell and can't sell it. The oil market in the world is probably more, the prices are fixed by the world market, and oil moves up, down, and across depending on its quality. But apparently they're telling us we can't sell it. And of course, we won't get gas for our cars if we don't produce our own gas. People getting gas in Alaska, up in the mountain in winter. They're getting gas down in Antarctica. But Trinidad and Tobago, in the middle of the Caribbean, will have difficulty buying gas or diesel. That's the kind of nonsense being spoken to you now. And then they have plans and programs. The real problem with the refinery in Point-à-Pierre is that we don't have oil of our own to refine. The refinery can do 140,000 barrels a day. We are only producing about 40, so it really is being run on the 100,000 you're importing. And since its arrangement, its configuration, its operations has shown that it will be a constant money loser, all you are doing is refining other people's oil to lose money. And whatever money you make on the other part of the company, you use it to subsidize the refinery. And let me bring it a little closer to you here, in Point Fortin. This year, your national gas company made almost $1 billion in profit. You are the owner of that, right? But you own Petrotrin too. That can't just barely pay the interest on the losses at Petrotrin. You understand? You make $1 billion down here at LNG, and it's gone through a hole up there. And they're saying to us, leave it so, leave it so. How could a government do that? But to be able to treat with that kind of problem, it is only a government like the People's National Movement with your support, you, the broad cross-section of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, who will support a sensible government doing sound and sensible things for the benefit of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why you need to support the national executive of the PNM. And that is why the country needs to support the PNM to be able to have the right decisions made in the country. And look at the advisors. Madam Kamla in the forefront. Kamla Prasad Bissesa in the forefront, giving advice. She met with Mr. Roger of the ODBTU 2 days ago, and they have agreed on a plan for to give the government. So the government spent a year and a half coming up with a plan to solve this problem. Two people who couldn't be in the same room with one another for the last 5 years. All of a sudden, two of them is partner, hug up again to put us through that same stupidness again, all because they want to maintain the bad business of the Point-A-Pay refinery. All of a sudden, they're friends again. The Point-A-Pay refinery is now working magic. It has brought Carolyn from the dead in the COP. It has brought Roger, and they're all back again. The same PPP to make you pee, right? Coming back now to tell you they have, and you know, I have said to them, I have said to the union, quite seriously, if you put a proposal to the board that is serious, a business proposal, I don't mean a political proposal or a union proposal, a business proposal, because you were saying that the refinery is the best thing since sliced bread and all it needs is somebody to run it, and the government wrong and the government wrong. We said, okay, fine. You wouldn't be the first union to own an asset. If you want to put a proposal to the government and it makes sense, the government will take it on. Well, I understand they put the proposal forward. But when you look at it, everything about the proposal is about maintaining the status quo. That couldn't be serious. But of course, the board, I have just informed that the board is looking at the proposal, and the board is of the view that the proposal is short in very many areas, but I won't speak for the board, and the board will speak to the government at the appropriate time. But in the meantime, we have taken a decision to fix the problem at Point-A-Pay, and that decision was based on sound evaluation in the interest not just of Petrotrin or the Petrotrin workers, but the workers and non-workers in all of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, you know, in stirring up the emotions, I saw a meeting in the papers reported about all these pensioners at Petrotrin who are concerned about their pension. Who is organizing them to be concerned about their pension? Petrotrin has one of the soundest, most overfunded pension in the country. Because while the company was losing money hand over fist, the pension fund was growing over and above requirements. So they have billions of dollars in the pension fund. There's no issue about Petrotrin workers, the retired workers, or those who are going to leave the company now. The pension arrangements are sound, because I'll tell you one thing. While the rest of the country was carrying the can and running up billions of dollars in losses that the taxpayer have to pay, Petrotrin Pension Fund was soundly funded and is there for the benefit of the few thousand workers who worked at Petrotrin. There's no issue there. So stop upsetting people. There's no issue. The government is not crazy. And I'm seeing all kinds of allegations being made, all kinds of attacks being made on the government. We are not fazed by that. Not fazed by that. Accusations. I said earlier on, speaking as the Prime Minister, head of the cabinet, that what we are doing is taking the refinery out of the pocket of the taxpayer, separating the refinery. And the business from then onwards would be an expansion of our involvement in the search and production of oil. And that means something to you here in the Western Peninsula. You will see an expansion of Petrotrin activities in this part, dealing with the Soldado fields and other operations here, because we are aiming to expand in the area where we're going to make money and stop in the area where we're losing money. Why is that so difficult to understand? We are converting a money-losing situation into a money-making situation, but it is not the easiest thing to do because it's affecting people and you have to reconstruct the model of the company that you're doing that in. Why is that so difficult to understand? You know why it's difficult to understand? Because what exists now, in all its forms, with all its watts, with all its leakage, it is working very well for a few people. And they want it to be left just so until it collapses on all of us. Well, no government that is responsible and no government that has the interests of the wider national community could sit idly by, unless, of course, you are a UNC government that had oil at $120 a barrel, $100 a barrel, $80 a barrel, and you come down in the NGC. The NGC, as our major earning facility, had within it, when they came into office, the NGC had billions of dollars in its reserve fund, and every year the Minister of Finance will take out about a 200 million or so in dividend once a year. The spendthrift, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa and Larry Hawaii, they spent out every cent from in the NGC. In 1 year they take dividends 4 times. 4 times they took dividends out of the NGC because you just take the money out, take the money out, take the money out. I want to ask them tonight, when you were taking the money out of the NGC by the billions, didn't you know Petrotrin had a problem in Pointe-à-Pierre? What did you do in Pointe-à-Pierre with one of those millions or one of those billions to fix the problem in Pointe-à-Pierre that is just strangling us now? And of course the spokesperson, David Abdullah, spokesperson for the union, he was offered a post on the board of Petrotrin, you know. Turned it down. You know the reason why he turned it down? Laid down a condition, and this is the condition, that the board, once appointed, must not be able to be told anything by the government. The board must be given a free hand to do as it pleases. So I had to ask him if they're familiar with the constitution of the country. Every state enterprise falls under a minister, because under the constitution of the country, a minister is responsible for anything under his or her portfolio. And a minister could give and must be able to give general or specific instructions or directions to anything under his or her portfolio. So in other words, David Abdullah was saying to me, appoint me and others to the board. And once you appoint us, you have no say or control over what we do in Petrotrin. And if you don't agree with that, I can't go on the board. But then, when we do all kind of thing inside there, you go to the parliament and answer to the parliament for what goes on in Petrotrin. That was the terms and conditions, but of course, I know exactly what is happening there. They knew what was going on in the company, they knew what had to come eventually, and they didn't want to be a part of the board to take the decision that was too hard for them to take. But in the interest of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, no decision is too hard to be taken by the PNM in Trinidad and Tobago. None. Because we do it without malice, without spite, without ill will, and with a whole lot of common sense and a confidence in the future of our country. Because we know if we restructure this company in the way that we are saying, Expand its operations in the ENP. Go find the oil and drill for it. Put your money investment in the oil finding business. Sell the oil that you find and make money. As against refining it with other people's oil and losing money. We know if we do that, in a not too distant future, the oil business in this country, rather than be a drag and a drain, will be a contributor of profits and foreign exchange to Trinidad and Tobago. That is what they are opposing in this way. And all kind of Tom, Dick and Harry, most of them never even read a page about anything in Petrotrin, but they're all experts. Some of them sat in cabinets and watched, because every month, in fact, what they used to do, you will get the reports like local government reports. Last week, we got a local government report on Mayaro Corporation last day in Parliament from 10 years ago. That's what the report. Financial statements from Mayaro Corporation from 2008. That comes to the Parliament last Wednesday. But of course, the report on the monthly performance of Petrotrin was coming to this cabinet 3, 4, 5 months late. I had to instruct the Minister of Energy. We do not want any report coming to us 3, 4, 5 months late. You have at least 1 month. We get this month, we get last month, and so on. And I can tell you right now, the reports are coming in on time so you can see exactly what's going on in the company. They were seeing these performances every month with respect to the performance of the refinery. Every month they were seeing it, so none of them was in the last cabinet could say they didn't know. How is the refinery performing? What is happening? How much are we refining? What is the margin? And you look at there, every month, bracket. Bracket. Of course, if you know accounts, once you see a bracket, it's a hole. Every month. And of course, they only deal in millions and billions. This is a company, an oil company that's supposed to be making money for us. We, the taxpayers, now facing a bill, one of two bills. One for $850 million US due by August of next year, which is a few months away, to which the company can't pay a cent. The company is in no position to pay any money to that check that has to be written. You know what you in this room and all the others of us have to do? We have to go out now and borrow a new $850 million and use that borrowing to pay off the one that is due and continue carrying the debt in the taxpayer's account. Is that fair to the rest of the taxpayers in Trinidad and Tobago? No. An oil company? We subsidize in water, we expect to. Subsidize in electricity, we expect to. Subsidize in bus service, we expect to. But we don't expect to subsidize a refinery in the oil business. And that is the decision we have to make. And we don't have to if we do the business differently. It is the way that we are doing it now that puts us in that situation where we have to subsidize an oil refinery. And of course, I need not go into the details of the shenanigans that go on inside. I'm talking about the accounts, just the accounts on the plain face of it. But we know that if we do it differently, we get a different result, a better result, which will work to the benefit of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So, we take the decision. We take the decision. And we go forward with the support of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because the vast majority of the people in Trinidad and Tobago have the common sense and the good order to understand that if something is not going right, especially something as big as that, if something is not going right, we have to fix it. I read a report on that refinery when you had the library spill. Remember when Coffee Beach was polluted? There was a report on Point-a-Pierre refinery and its pertinences. And that report, the day that refinery pollutes anybody, that report will be there to damn the government of Trinidad and Tobago, who is the owner of the refinery. Because the report points out specifically where there were concerns and potential failures with respect to Petrotrin's business. And if it is not handled properly, and we end up with an oil spill out of that refinery that goes down to Venezuela and off out to the Western Caribbean, and then the bills come in by the hundreds of billions. Is that what we are waiting for? Is that what we're waiting for? And then you have all kinds of arrangements in the company worked out by those who suit themselves, where if you hire a contractor and the contractor is going to do a business for you at a particular price, they make arrangements that say, no, you have to pay the contractor a higher price. The contractor is tendering to you at a lower price, but they have arrangements in place that you can't accept the lower price, you have to pay a higher price. What kind of madness is that? Huh? And that is what's been going on. And I could tell you, the same way that we have dealt in an orderly manner with the Point Fortin substitute, in the case of Point Fortin, we were able to substitute other industries. We may not be able immediately to substitute industries in Pointe-à-Pierre, but certainly, once we take the refinery out of the operation and a non-producing refinery is standing there are options available to us. The options may be for continuity under a different arrangement, or somebody may want the refinery. We don't know, but the one thing we do know is that we have to take the refinery offline to prevent it bleeding the money of Trinidad and Tobago down a drain. Have to do that. And if, as we do that, the plans are allowed to work, in short order, we would have rid ourselves of this albatross around our neck of debt incurred by Petrotrin, which the company can't pay, and once the company cannot pay it, then it's for you, the taxpayer, to pay. We want to put it back in a situation where whatever debt the company incurs in its business, the company will be able to service. Because right now, based on what's going on right now, not only are they using up all the money that they produce in their own operation, they are having to borrow money from banks to continue what is going on now. And when they borrow that money, they can't repay it, taxpayer have to repay it. So every so often, they come to the Ministry of Finance, and I, as Prime Minister, the Cabinet have to sign off 50 million US, 30 million US, 50 million US to buy oil to lose money. So none of the conversation opposed to the government's actions engaging these issues. They're not engaging the issues of how much debt the company has run up. They're not engaging the issue of how the company has underperformed in the most basic of areas. They're not dealing with the issue of why are you importing oil to run an operation to lose money on every barrel. They're not engaging the issue of the Minister of Finance having to deal with national debt that is already high, having to fund oil purchases for the company. Why is our oil company in that situation? We are the only oil company in the world in that situation, and the reason being, it's owned by the government, and everybody could threaten the government. If there was no threat to the government, this would be a non-issue. If that company was owned by Nilan Massey or Ansa Makal or Sajiko or somebody, non-issue. But because it's owned by the government and the government has a treasury and the government goes to the polls at election time, all kind of nonsense, and it's all hinged on a threat to how they will vote for you in the next election. Well, I am saying to you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, you've elected me to deal with your problems, and right now, one of your biggest problems is Petrotrin, and I will deal with it. So tonight here in Point Fortin, your future is bright. Your future is bright because the PNM is in office. Your future is bright because the PNM executive to be elected would be a strong one with a strong commitment to continue to give you a bright future. In the next few days, as soon as the budget is over thereabouts, I come down here to turn the sod for another industrial plant, a plant that will be making cable for export. So things are happening in Point Fortin, right? So support your executive, support your PNM, and have faith in your country, Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you and good night. All that's left for me to do now is to call to the stage your new executive. Let us start with the election officer of the PNM to be elected on the 30th of September, Sunday coming, in our parish for election officer. And since we are in Point Fortin, we need a hard-working Point Fortin man to be our field officer. The mayor of Point Fortin, Abdon Mason, for field officer. And the man who would hold Balizé House together, the general secretary, he's the managing director at headquarters, Mr. Foster Cummings. And who will be there with him getting the information in and getting it out and talking to the public on or offline, our public relations officer, Laurel Lizama Leasing. And working very closely with her in communicating into the party and to the public, Avinash Singh, our social media officer. And since we are putting young people to work, you will see our youth officer, Ndale Young, our youth officer. And holding the position for Assistant General Secretary, the hard-working, the committed Daniel Duki for Assistant General Secretary. And as we work in the party, we have our welfare to look after. Our welfare officer, Justin Bodden, already elected unopposed. And the man who has been on the hunt, but now the hunt is over, you found him, for Vice Chairman Robert LeHunt. And whenever we organize like this anywhere in the country, I just turn up and join you. But Irene is here first. She leaves here last. She is the organizer. She is head of the operations unit. Irene Hines for operations officer. And all of this has to be paid for on an ongoing basis. And the man to count the PNM's money in the PNM, Howard Chinley as treasurer. And tonight, I want to make an excuse for Mr. Imbert, who was supposed to be here. But as you know, the budget is due on Monday, the 1st of October. And he had some little extras to do tonight. And he has to be exposed because he has had to work with the staff into tonight in getting our national budget ready. So Colum Imbert for chairman, at work and on the job. And of course, right behind me here, the backbone of the PNM, the Women's League, and the head of the Women's League, the lady vice chairman of the PNM for yet another term, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis. And this is the executive, the team that will give you the service as we go forward to election in 2019, election in 2020, election in 2021, and election in 2022. Do they look the part? Young, and of course, one person missing from here is the not so young Overend Padmore, the walking encyclopedia, who is going to take us through and run us forward to all these elections, keeping us rooted and grounded to the principles of the PNM. Overend Padmore for education officer. And that's your team. So come out and vote. Vote in support of this executive. And we make our way to convention, which is due at the end of November. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for coming out in such large numbers. The campaign is over. Voting on Sunday. Come out, party members, and vote in support. Sunday, the 30th of September, which is next Sunday, our campaign will have come to an end. Our election is due. Vote solidly for Team Red. Real experience and dedicated Red Rowley team. Thank you and good night.
Tell me, are you ready? To build back a country. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this for the love of your country. Place your vote for the P&M family. Are you ready? We rolling with the red army. Yo, for the la 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 la. Say, come on, my people, let's stand together. Underneath the red, white, and blue banner. Burn out corruption like thieves in the streets, and it's all the people flattered. The partnership done sick already. We vote against them, the foot up, tacky to running down time. I've made up my mind to build back this idea. Let's. Should be a go.